Thank you. Time being 6:14, I call to order the City of Glenwood Springs City Council meeting, November 20th, 2025. This is our regular meeting for the end of November. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. And Ryan, would you please take a roll call?
Mayor Dame.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Zielinski. Councillor Townsley. Councillor Schmall. Councillor Weimer.
Here.
Councillor Schachter.
Here.
Councillor Smith. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Ryan. Agenda changes, and I was informed that we are eliminating the executive session.
Yes.
So item 19 is scratched off the agenda for tonight. You like that? Any council conflicts of interest for tonight? See none, we'll move on. Item 4, citizens appearing before council for items that are not on the agenda. Also see none. Move on to council announcements. Any announcements? We'll start with Mayor Pro Tem Zielinski, please.
I had the honor to attend the Colorado Water Conservation Board meeting down in Denver, representing Glenwood Springs, and speak on behalf of the Shoshone Water Rights Acquisition. And I'm happy to report that they unanimously approved supporting that with a pretty extensive collaborative process between the major entities. And I think, Carl, do you want to kind of add to that?
Sure.
History.
Yeah. So I was going to do this in my report, but I'll do it now. I just wanted to first start by saying thank you to probably the 10 prior councils before you guys, because in 2003 or 2004, we were asked by the River District to participate in the negotiation of the Colorado River Cooperative Agreement on behalf of the Middle River, really. Rifle also joined us in that. That agreement was signed in 2014. A component of that was to make the Shoshone water rights permanent. So over then the next 10 years, we began negotiating with public service, and Andy Mueller, a former partner of mine, took over the role as the general manager for the River District a few years ago and really pushed this forward. And I have to say, huge thanks to he and his team, Peter Fleming on the legal side, and all of those folks. They did an amazing job pushing this forward. And the acquisition is really of the water right, and then a donation of that water right to the Colorado Water Conservation Board as an in-stream flow right, with co-management responsibility reserved to the western slope as well. That was really the core of yesterday's hearing, was talking through how important, and that's what Mayor Pro Tem Zielinski testified on, as well as other elected officials from up and down the Colorado River, was the importance of co-management of this water right and its importance to the western slope. And that our investments, a total of about $5.2 million is coming from the entities in Garfield County, $2 million from the city of Glenwood Springs, $3 million from Garfield County, and the balance from other jurisdictions within the county. This is a monumental first step. We still have to go to water court for that change of use for that water right. And I also want to note that Councillor Smith was there as well and was working the room ahead of Mayor Pro Tem and I getting there. And I very much appreciate him being there. At one point, they asked for the West Slope to stand up to show their numbers. And probably 2/3 of the room or 3/4 of the room was from the Western Slope. Probably 80 people stood up that were there, had made the time from the Utah border to the headwaters up in Summit and Grand County. So anyway, I wanted to say thank you to everybody that has been involved, because over those 20 or 22 or 24 years, we've been engaged in this process to protect the Colorado River. Every single council has supported that, has pushed it forward. And I know that it landed on the last council and this council to write one of the largest checks that you will write while you're sitting on council, more than likely, and for something that is just incredibly important to the community, incredibly important to the Western Slope. So I want to thank you guys. I want to thank all of your predecessors. And it is just, it was a huge victory for the Western Slope, for the Colorado River, and frankly, for the state of Colorado. So anyway, I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for the information. Anything to add?
No, I just wanted to highlight that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for all that. Any other announcements? Counselor Smith.
I assume that it was because Councilor Zelinski spoke that they approved it in the
Yeah.
end. Historic Preservation Commission, at their last meeting, discussed and then later discovered, details about the historic hardware along the railroad corridor that parallels the river trail within Glenwood Springs. The commission wanted to get that stuff just in case it might prove useful. It turned out RAFTA had hauled it to Carbondale or somewhere, maybe to West Glenwood, because it was getting vandalized. There was an exchange of letters with Embry's great help, and RAFTA is responding. We were able to confirm at the RAFTA board meeting last week that they got the request from the commission, and so they're teaming up to get that stuff back. Planning and Zoning Commission had what to me struck me as kind of a remarkable meeting earlier in the week. Whereas we know that they're very conscientious about checking the code and reviewing plans and posing stipulations and kind of working in boxes. They had a whole meeting facilitated by Staff Watkins and Trent to just think and imagine and talk about housing in particular. There was a whole meeting talking about housing innovations for Glenwood Springs. I sat in on it just to learn, and it was really impressive. I think similar conversations overlapping with the Workforce Housing Advisory Board is going to start to bring some tangible proposals for the council to consider. So that was fun. On November 11th, 11 at approximately 11 in the morning, several of us attended a luncheon at the community center for Veterans Day. City staff apparently has by long tradition invited all city employees who are military veterans to show up for a free meal. And some of us were there to have some pretty remarkable and enjoyable conversations. And learned a lot, and it was nice to be in on that. And thanks especially to Sarah, who was here, for organizing all the details of that. Thank you.
Thank you. And just real quick to follow up on the counselor sitting in on the P and Z meeting. Since there was no active land use application, that was perfectly fine.
I
But
did
once,
get permission first. Thank you.
once we have a land use, I'd like to let you know that we shouldn't do that. But if it was just a work session, I think that's perfectly copacetic. So just a reminder, all good. Any other announcements? Okay, we'll see none. Thank you, Counselor Smith. We'll move on to the consent agenda. And I am entertaining a motion to move that forward. And we got Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
I would like to move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve. Counselor Schachter,
I second the motion.
and a second. Any discussion on the consent?
I would just like to express appreciation for Christopher Sharrow to continue serving on the bail board.
Thank you for mentioning that. Any other discussion? See none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? We'll see none. Thank you. Moving on to action and or presentations. And from what I see, we have a whole bunch of housekeeping items. So let's see if we can get this knocked out tonight in a decent amount of time. So I'm gonna start with Watkins for the combine of the Housing Commission and the, I can't say it, Workforce Housing Financial Advisory Board.
Sure.
WFAB, that's it, WFAB.
WFAB, WHFAB, it all works.
That's right.
Anyway, thank you all, council. I don't have any presentation for you all tonight. I think what I want to say is pretty much just in the packet. It's a continuation of informal discussion you all had on August 7th when there's a joint work session with WHFAB. So Housing Commission has been really valuable to the city, and I want to make sure that we know that combining it with WHFAB doesn't reduce their importance. It's just kind of an efficiency thing that we see, and it's also the appropriate time to do it. So the ordinance that I've drafted for you guys would add all of the powers and duties that are currently assigned in the code from Housing Commission to WHFAB, and that's kind of all we're doing.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thanks for that. Any questions? I have a quick question. Is there any open seats once we combine?
Yeah, but we're not, when we're combining, we're not putting the members on them. That's gonna be a separate item that there'll be interviews and then you guys will have to appoint them. So currently on WHFAB, there is one open seat and then one seat available for a high school student specifically, and then 3 alternate positions available.
Okay, because, well, the reason I'm asking is I knew a couple of people that applied to the Housing Commission and they were told not to apply because we're most likely going to combine the boards.
Yep.
So if they're interested in joining the new board, I can encourage them to do that again.
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. Great. Any other questions?
When,
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski, would you like to talk?
when does that board meet? Because they didn't meet at the same time. So what would be the new time?
They meet, the WHFAB meets the second Tuesday of the month, 4:15.
Here.
currently.
Okay,
Yes, here in city council chambers.
in the chambers. Okay, excellent. Anything else? No, that was it. Any other questions? No? It's an ordinance. Anybody from the public? See none? Close the public portion. Bring it back to us, entertaining a motion in item 7, ordinance 2025-30. Council Schacht.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, regarding ordinance 2025-30, amending Title 20 to combine the Housing Commission Workforce Housing Financial Advisory Board, I move that we accept the recommendation and do the combination.
Excellent. Motion to approve. Looking for a second. Oh, Council Townsley? Second. Thank you. Motion is second to approve. Any discussion on council's end? We'll see none. It's an ordinance. I'll call for the question. We'll do it electronically.
It passes 7-0.
Thank you, Ryan. Item 8, ordinance 2025-36, code amendment regarding restaurant drive-through use in the RE zone district. That's Emery tonight.
So Emery Ellingson, Community Development, will be sharing my screen for presentation. Okay. Okay, so here we go. So this item is a code text amendment for a potential change in the zoning table, very specific in scope, just regards one use, being drive-through restaurants. So again, the topic for tonight, this went to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on October 28th, where they made a recommendation for approval. Just as a reminder, any code amendment to Title 70, which is all development code, does go first to Planning and Zoning Commission for recommendation and then to City Council for final review. And so again, in code, we have table of allowed uses, which identifies many uses in the city, and you can either have something be permitted by right, and so that's where you see the P. Can be a special use, which that goes under special review, where Planning and Zoning Commission would make a decision whether that use would be approved or not, or it can be prohibited, and that's where you see the blanks. And so in this case, you can see restaurant as a use is permitted in a lot of zoning districts, and then we have restaurant with the drive-through called out a little special, and that's actually not a by right use anywhere in the city. It's always a special use, except for as identified here in the resort zoning district. So that's what's being proposed tonight, is just this small change right here would be to make the drive-through restaurant a special use permit like it is in some other zoning districts around town. And then the main difference, when is a restaurant a drive-through? Well, when it has a drive-through or a walk-up counter. So a little bit different of a use is why it's separated. So the resort zoning district, not a lot of properties in town are in the resort zoning district. It's fairly limited. So we have, in total, there's 9 parcels in town. 2 of them being around 27th Street, which those are both built out as residential, and also senior living. Iron Mountain Hot Springs area, and then the third area is in Glenwood Meadows. You see those parcels over there, some of which have been built out as hotels, some of which are vacant. As you probably may recall, there was a major site development plan which you all approved for a hotel on this parcel 8. Parcel 9 is currently vacant. The developer has proposed ideas for a drive-through there, but that's, again, nothing's been approved. So the criteria for text amendment to code, findings in the staff report indicated recommendation for approval. We'll just go through these 5 quickly. So one is just that it's consistent with comprehensive plan. And so you can see, talking about Glenwood's role as a regional commercial center. So having more available commercial uses for a property obviously opens that up. And then also just attract and retain different businesses. 2, doesn't conflict with other provisions of the code. So the resort zoning district already allows other drive-through uses for personal services and banks. So it's not like that's not a concept for other uses. This one just happened to not be included. And then also the special use permit still allows for a case-by-case review. So the idea with the special use is that there might be some effects from the use that need to be mitigated, like noise, traffic, lighting, things like that. So adding it as a special use, the city doesn't lose its ability to review kind of a case-by-case basis. It just allows that person to submit a special use permit. And then again, other commercial focused zoning districts already allow it as a special use. So it's kind of more in line with the similar zoning districts. 3, necessary to address a demonstrated community need. So it could attract new restaurants to the community, and then also just kind of that need for a diverse economic base. 4, necessary to respond to substantial conditions changes. So there's definitely been over, if you think about last 20 years, kind of a change in fast food restaurants where you see more chains adding that concept, whether it be kind of like a fast casual like a Chipotle, or even a place that used to be more traditionally sit down like a Chili's or an Applebee's. Which again, and then we don't lose that ability to review for location specific concerns. And then finally, just that it's consistent with general purpose and intent on some of those things I covered up about drive-throughs being allowed for other uses. So Planning and Zoning Commission had a recommendation for approval coming to you for final review tonight.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Emery. Back to council for questions. Councilor Schmal.
So Emery, the special use permit designation still allows you the ability to evaluate the specific request and specific location. I'm especially reminded of your photograph there of an In-N-Out burger place. I've been to a number of them in Colorado that when they were fairly new, and the traffic impact is incredible, regardless of the capacity of how many lanes and how many people. So it warrants special use consideration.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilor Townsley.
Maybe, I don't know, comment, question, but and it probably doesn't have to pertain with approving this, but are we ahead of where we want to be signage wise? Just, I remember when I looked through these the first time, are we ahead to, we're not going to all of a sudden have somebody going, okay, we've got 2 big yellow arches here, or with people putting in fast food restaurants, and are we where we want to be?
Sure, that's a good question. So a special use permit wouldn't address signage necessarily. That would be done with a sign permit, which as far as signs go, similar to zoning, we also have sign districts throughout town, which stipulate things like height, size, illumination. So that would be, if there was a development coming in, the special use permit would cover the use itself, and then signage would be separately reviewed and permitted.
Okay, so I guess then my question is, with signage, going back to signage, are we where we want to be signage wise? Are we happy with how those are? Or are we just letting people kind of come in and that's your traditional sign?
Yeah, so I'd say, so with those sign districts, we've identified, because definitely in Glenwood, if you think you have the I-70 corridor, that has a different need for signage than maybe Grand or Highway 82. So that those sign districts, the regulations that go along with it, generally are in tune with what the needs and compatibility of those areas. So what you see on I-70 is different than what you would see in Glenwood Meadows.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councilor Schachter.
Thank you. I won't talk about sign code tonight. We Thank you for bringing it up. Question, looking at the map and looking at our table of allowed uses, I guess one of the questions, and this isn't directly related, but it's related. In the resort zoning district 1 and 2, is that the correct zoning for that district, given what's there, number one? And that's maybe a question for P and Z down the road, given how it's evolved. And related to that, another question would be, hey, if we approve special use, I guess the question is, can P and Z deny or only put on conditions?
With the special use permit,
Yes,
if that were to come back, both.
they can, okay.
Yeah, they're
And so
deciding on it.
related to that, one, I have a question just based on the map of the correct zoning of that particular area. And also maybe another question down the road is, why does M2 not have that special use? That, you don't have to answer me
Sure.
now. It's just a question. Thank you.
Well, the M2 is your downtown core. So I think,
Just downtown core?
well, then there also is the area in Glenwood Meadows as well. And that's a little bit denser. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions? I'm just curious to know who initiated this? How was this brought forward?
So it came about, so this has been in code since our change in 2018. And it was also prior to that code change, resort zoning district, or the equivalent of it before, didn't have drive-through uses. And so really what happened is when this hotel development came through and staff, we started having conversations about their desired concept. Then we realized that, oh, there's, in the use table,
Right.
it's blank. And then when we looked at it and considered, well, how is this zoning district is a high intensity commercial zoning district, similar to CO, similar to mixed use. Why is this not here? And so staff looked at it as a way of providing a little more flexibility. It's not being done for that developer, but the fact that they have gone through that, expressed that interest, made us realize that there's kind of that lack of flexibility in our zoning. Because again, special use, it still has to be reviewed, but when it's a prohibited use, that conversation ends. It's not allowed.
Right.
So
Right. Makes sense. Okay, great. Thank you. If I see no more questions, I'll open it up to the public for public comment. See none, we'll close the public portion, bring it back to council, entertaining a motion in ordinance 2025-36. Code amendments regarding restaurant drive-through use on the, within the RE zone district. Councilor Schachter.
Or let me get the right ordinance number here. Sorry, I apologize. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, regarding ordinance 2025-36, the restaurant drive-through use in resort zoning district, I recommend approval of the staff recommendation.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve. Second, Mayor Pro Tem Linsky,
Yep,
second.
that.
We have motion and second to approve. Any more discussion on our side? We got Councilor Smith.
Thank you. I will oppose this motion based in the kind of both the practical and the points of principle related to traffic, as Councilor Schmal highlighted. These can be readily become high traffic generators. We should be looking for ways to reduce, even eliminate drive-through commercial facilities, not adding new opportunities for them. I think that the staff has very conscientiously gone through the basic criteria and found the references that fulfill those criteria for making this recommendation, and took that to P&Z, and P&Z recommends it. Those considerations, those criteria did not include several city document references to traffic and pollution generations that come from a facility like this. The city's climate action plan at action number T 2.2.2 says to employ further enforcement of the city's vehicle idling policy. That's a little off the mark, but it kind of sends the signal that we're a town that's trying to seek reduction in idling and the pollution that comes with that. It also does not consider the comprehensive plan's transportation strategy regarding transportation demand management, that the city should, as it states in there, implement incentives and disincentives to support increasing the non-driving mode share for both local and regional trips within and to Glenwood Springs. It also does not consider the comp plan climate and hazards strategy on carbon reduction, which directs city activities to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And it doesn't consider the very active transportation demand management, transportation management organization process that we just heard about tonight, where we are working hard to reduce car trips and car idling and car pollution for traffic reasons, for climate reasons, for local comfort reasons. This is a small step, but it's another step the wrong direction on this measure. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Weimer.
I just want to clarify that this and make sure that everybody here understands what we're doing with this. Presently, drive-through restaurants are use by right.
Nope.
No.
No?
Special use review.
No.
In other zone districts, there's special use reviews. Right now, in this zone district, it's not permitted, but it's
We're going
permitted
from
in
not
other high
permitted to
density.
use by right.
No.
Yeah.
Special use.
Sorry, we're going from not permitted
To
to special use.
use.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schachter.
I appreciate Counselor Smith's perspective because generally we should probably not do anything to encourage vehicular support. I do anecdotally notice downtown, what I think anecdotally is maybe one of our busiest takeout restaurants is only available on foot. It doesn't seem to diminish their business at all. The only special use is still can be vetoed by P and Z, if I understand correctly. It won't come to council unless there's an appeal. So I'm not sure about the decision process, but I think the perspective about encouraging vehicular traffic is extremely important to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? We still have a motion and a second to approve. So if I see none, I'll call for the question.
No, Counselor Townsley. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski. Yes, Mayor Dem. No, Counselor Weimer. Yes, Counselor Schmal. No, Counselor Smith. Yes, Counselor Schachter. It passes 4-3.
Thank you, Ryan. Moving on, item 9, ordinance 2025-26, consideration of a code amendment application regarding fire and emergency services and police impact fees. That's Trent.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. If you'll give me just 1 second to pull up the presentation.
While Trent's pulling that up, just so you know, the next 3 items, you will see, if you pass them when they come back on second reading, you'll see fee schedules that go with all 3 of these, which is why you don't see them in the ordinances themselves. That way we can change those fees more easily on an annual basis.
Need help?
Fees, not that we're talking about, not what was in the presentation then?
No, they would be what's in the presentation, just in terms of mechanically. You'll have code changes that authorize the fees, and then you'll have a fee resolution that reflects what you guys have talked about, but just adopting them that way.
So if we adopt this tonight, fees are still in play.
Absolutely. It's just it's a timing issue that I usually do for you guys. And that's kind of why I'm having this discussion, is because we have 2 readings of an ordinance. So I like to make sure that the ordinance passes authorizing the fees before we put on second reading of the ordinance and the fee resolution at the next meeting, typically on the consent agenda.
Yeah, and I apologize, Counselor Townsley. Both were included in the packet, but yes, it would be at a subsequent meeting for the actual adoption of the fees that we would apply. Tonight, the consideration would be to apply changes to the development code that would allow for us to apply those fees to future development in the city. And can we change to the lectern? Oh, maybe I do. Maybe I do need.
This way I can't present, because I can never share. I'll stay together.
Let me just pull it back up.
Right.
And obviously, Chief Darris is here tonight to opine and answer questions as well. He's obviously been working on this for longer than I have. But this is Planning File 5025. It's a code amendment regarding fire and emergency services and police impact fees. Like I was mentioning, a code amendment is required for this. So we'll go through the applicable criteria for the approval of the code amendment. But this would be to update our existing fire and emergency services fees and to adopt a new police impact fee here in the city. I think it's pretty obvious to most that development within our city increases both employment and the population. And that increase in population increases the need for proportional increase in the services that are provided by various city departments. Tonight specifically, we're talking about fire and police. In Colorado and across the nation, impact fees are used to address funding shortfalls by those type of services. In Colorado, we've been using impact fees since approximately the 1920s. Today, impact fees are governed by Senate Bill 15, as well as Section 29 of Title 29 of the Colorado Revised Statutes. Impact fees are a one-time fee that's applied to developments to improve or to pay for the cost of facilities used to operate those departments, not for the actual operation of those departments. So it's not for personnel. It's for specifically, it would be for equipment. It would be for buildings. It would be for building additions, the equipment that our police officers carry. But it's a one-time fee applied, and that fee, based on statute and Supreme Court past decisions, has to be proportional to the impact that is being developed. That's what we call the essential nexus. And again, you have to have some type of a study that proves that. In this case, BBC Consulting worked with the city to determine what are the equipment that we keep, and what is it going to cost to either replace that equipment or to apply these fees to the development of future buildings and additions and other improvements that we would want for our equipment. Back in July, you heard a presentation based on this, and then I think there was the connection that yes, we may want to consider these fees, but we would also have to apply them via the code amendment. Currently, the city does apply fees to parkland, school land, fire emergency services, as well as public art. I'll go into this just a little bit later, but the approval criteria, you also heard this in the last presentation, is outlined in section 70-60-40C-3D3. Starting with number 1, that's consistency with the comprehensive plan and other city policies. Our 2023 comprehensive plan directly addresses fees and the services provided by various departments, and states that development should be responsible for that, and they should respond to growth that occurs in the city. Even one section of our code, 6.10 of the comprehensive plan, says that we shall update our development codes to accommodate these. And also, even in one instance, mentions the need for a new fire substation in West Glenwood. 2, does not conflict with the Glenwood Springs Municipal Code. Again, very common in the state of Colorado, already applied and applicable here in the city for other types of fees. And our code currently includes them as well as other dedications that are required for new development. 3, a demonstrated community need. Pretty obvious that fire and police services are a need in our community. The need to update the cost of those for proportionality of development is also necessary. 4, respond to substantial changes in condition and policy. Again, these increases in population and employment limit the ability of our departments to provide services at the same level as more and more people come to live here or come to work here on a daily basis. And we all know that the cost of providing these equipment and facilities also continues to increase. 5 is generally consistent with the purpose and intent of this code. The purpose of the development code is very much in line with the purpose of government generally, and that's to protect the public health, safety, and welfare, as well as in compliance with the comprehensive plan. The intent specifically of the development code is that it's based on to address the impacts of various developments. Council may this evening approve with conditions, deny or continue the consideration of the changes to the code. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered these changes and voted 6-1 to recommend approval to council. They did raise some concerns. Some of those were the future waiver of fees, and there are in certain instances like housing developments, things that we want to incentivize where we waive these fees, and how would that occur? Would it occur in a similar manner? They also had questions about what the existing fees were compared to those that are being proposed, how these fees are calculated, and then what is the share of the impacts related to our residents versus our tourists and our guests to our city? How are those calculated and determined? Staff ultimately recommends approval of this change because it complies with the applicable approval criteria. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right,
And
great.
I can
thank-
also pull up the study as well and show you a little bit about how these things are determined and applied.
Okay, great. Thank you. Questions to staff at this point? We'll start with Council Schachter.
Thank you again. One thing I wasn't clear, this should be simple. Would the fee under retail and commercial, is that where are hotels and motels categorized? Are they commercial or?
Yes.
So they're covered as well with this fee structure. If this gets approved, where do the BBC suggestions come in? Are those to be implemented by staff on a determined basis, or is it automatically taking all those suggestions? Do we know?
So there's two very important tables in that. I think I highlighted them in the staff report, but that's where the uses are broken down. That's how we would apply those fees to the future developments that come through the city. And then those fees would correspond with an actual fee table related to those costs.
Well, there were also, it seemed like some subjective implementation ideas as well. Are those still to be considered by your staff? For example, I raised one question as one example. Do we really want to complicate our lives? And this is rhetorical, with a credit situation that is way more complex, although they did recommend you have that. So I was just curious how their recommendations will fit in with the ordinance.
Yeah, and planning will not make any determination about the use of those fees. Do you mean like some of the suggestions that were made?
yeah.
And how?
Not the use of the
It
fees
was-
as
I
much
think
as
was some
they
of the-
implement the whole plan.
Right, like offsetting for doing certain things
Yeah.
or whatnot. I think at this point, the way we crafted the ordinance was just straightforward implementation of the fees for now. I think that those are policy questions that we may want to dig into down the line a little bit about, waivers or credits for doing certain things if they advance specific policies that the city council is looking to advance. That's typically how we do it with all the fees that we have.
So we're not automatically
No.
blanket saying we'll implement it just as BBC says. That'll be a.
Yeah, no, that'll be it. So.
The nexus, I understand, and that we'll get fees.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
so
thank you.
it's a straightforward, just those two tables. This is the formula we're gonna use to implement it. And then the fee structure is the one that would be contained in the resolution coming next time. And that's all we're doing, not all of the other stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council Townsley.
A couple questions. One, and some comments too, but I'll try to save those to the comment section. So when I went through there and looking at it, they were talking about potential money that might come inbounds on these. And for the police fees they looked at 17 units of multifamily, 17 units of single family. For the fire, it was 33 units of single family and 33 units of multifamily. Is that because we're taking into a bigger piece of land for fire?
Correct.
And then, so I guess my question there is if that's the case, are we taxing the people of Glenwood to cover fire protection and bring in more equipment for people outside the city limits?
Well, I would just say that the fees are calculated to apply a certain value to existing development here in the city.
Okay.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, so basically you're looking at total square footage. You're allocating a certain number of employees or persons per household to our existing facilities and or any improvements that we plan, purchases, future purchases. So we're not taxing any existing development at all.
Impact fees, taxes. I probably shouldn't. mix
Yeah,
it
I
up.
was gonna say,
Yeah.
and the other.
Charging people money.
The other component of this is, there will have to be a parallel adoption of fees in the fire district, remembering that we operate via IGA outside of the city boundaries on behalf of the rural fire protection district that we do as a unified operation. And so that probably is what is reflected in the difference in numbers, but it's not that city residents are paying for fire protection outside of the city boundary. I think they just did their calculations on number of potential units based on what would be occurring both in the city and out in the fire district as well.
Wouldn't all those impact fees, if there was a development within the city that we were charging impact fees to, be putting money in a pool to buy fire engines that would?
It is, but the fire district contributes to that pool. The impact fees that they will collect will contribute to that pool. And so they pay over, and I can't remember what the number is. And basically their entire budget goes to either personnel or equipment that the city fire department operates on behalf of them. So
I'm not against charging developers fees for impact fees. I just,
Right.
it should be fair.
yeah, no, and I think that it is fair because it will be applied out in the district the same way as it's being applied inside the city limits. So those impact fees, even though
So if there's a development up 4 Mile, we're going to charge those same impact fees.
right, well, the fire district will adopt those, not you, but there will be a parallel adoption to
Okay,
get those in
cool.
place.
That's great.
Yes, so, and just back to your question, Summer, really in terms of the development code and what we'll get involved with, will pretty much be like at the table that you see here. We're just gonna calculate these based on square footages or developments on an as per new development, case by case basis.
I did have one other question. From a question standpoint, one of the P&Z commissioners, I think it was John Houghton, brought up a couple things that I thought were really important. One was the fact that almost 70% of the calls we get on the fire side are from EMS type calls, and they're not actual fire calls. And so he was looking at, we've got a large tourist economy, and a lot of those calls are going to support tourists. Would it not make more sense to have lodging go into a multifamily pay structure or something closer to that versus going into retail? Thoughts on that?
It's a great question. I think, and actually you can add as many categories to this and break up the uses, as you desire. I think probably this is a simplification of understanding each and every use, on a weekly basis. I'll tell you, we have conversations in my department about what's fair and equitable to charge to a redevelopment, let's say, of an existing facility here in town. And do we charge that, the water and sewer fee for a gym versus a school versus a retail space? So you really can get into examining those uses more and more, but I think this is a generalization. Would it be better? Yes. I think maybe the cost to better understand all of those specific details probably is maybe not worth the value that you get or the return that you get for those.
I would wonder just, and I don't know how you look at a hotel, like, is it a living unit with each room? But like he said, there's 3 employees versus a whole bunch of people that are going to require services. I don't know. I'm just throwing a question out there.
And I will say that, our current study is based on evaluating other kind of peer communities that are there in the tourism economy. So, I can't say to what level, but I assume that plays into the number for the non-residential developments to some degree, to what I would be able to explain.
Okay, everything, I'll hold the rest of the comments.
All right, thank you. Counselor Schmall.
So to be sure I'm clear, we're being asked to approve the methodology of assessing impact fees without knowing what the fees are going to be.
I believe they were in the staff report, and those fees are the same ones that you got in the work session that we talked about. I just broke them into two pieces because there again, we set those fees by resolution at the second reading of the ordinance.
And there is, those fees are outlined and I combined both the ordinance and the resolution. Counselor Schmal, if
Okay.
you wanted to see what those fees are.
And then what is, maybe I missed it, what is the process for exempting those fees or waiving those fees then?
Any applicant or developer can
can-
always come to council to waive those fees, to make a request to waive those fees. Yeah. So there's always some administrative relief from the application of these fees if someone feels that they're being applied unfairly.
But ultimately, you guys have to make that decision on the fee waiver as council. It doesn't happen at the staff level.
We have, for our water and sewer fees, just to let you know, we do have some programs that allow for averaging those out over a year period to pay those incrementally. We do split fees, the higher end fees, the water and sewer fees from, building permits for the issuance of a building permit to the end of the CO, certificate of occupancy for that. So we split some of the fees up in the payment and the times they're due. But yeah, really only this body has the ability to waive those. In some instances, you've had priority type development that you've reduced those fees. Accessory dwelling units as an example of that.
Thank you. Any other questions? I just like a little clarification. At this point, we do have a fire impact fee, right?
That's correct.
So this is real, so is this replacing the fire impact fee and become more of a public safety fee?
Yeah, it is. So this is a little bit of being a drafting geek and trying not to have to change too many things in the code.
Right.
We are repealing and replacing the section of the code that is fire and emergency services impact fees. We're adding in there the police impact fee as an emergency service. So all of that was in the code is being stripped out and replaced with what you have in your packet. Part of the reason for keeping the name the same, the nomenclature the same, fire and emergency services impact fee, is so that we don't have to go through and change all of the cross references across the code that uses it.
Okay, so now but there's still two separate fees. Because how would you know what goes to where?
Yeah, it is two separate fees or two separate components of the fire and emergency services impact fees. You pay both.
It just lives in the same code.
It just lives in the same place.
Okay, got it. That makes way more sense now. Councilor Townsley.
And just to clarify, the current fee for residential is 1,600 ballpark somewhere in there? Or no?
For fire. Fire.
or costs, exactly, and there isn't one for police. Okay, that's
So
what I thought.
that fee, that fee is approximately doubling. But
The 20 years old.
But exactly, that fee has not been updated in my time associated with the city for over a decade. I don't know that Carl even knows what it was when I asked him, so. And then, of course, the police fee would be a new fee.
All right, great. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, we'll see none. Thank you, Trent. Open it
thank
up
you.
to the public. Any public input on this? See none. Close the public portion. Bring it back to us. Entertaining a motion in ordinance 2025-26. Consideration of a code amendment application regarding fire and emergency services and police impact fees. Mayor Pro Tem Solinsky, please.
I would like to make a motion to approve consideration of ordinance 2025-26, which is an application regarding the fire and police impact fees.
Thank you.
Yes.
We got it. Perfect. Councilor
A lot of
Wyman.
words.
I would like clarification on the motion.
Okay.
To approve ordinance, whatever the number is.
Yes, to approve ordinance 2025-26 as written.
Very good. I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilor Townsley.
So, and again, correct me if I'm wrong on any of these numbers, but I'm curious because you said you're looking at doubling it from like 1,600 to 3,200, but did I misread that to where that would be for a house up to like 2,000 square foot? And then up to a 3,000 square foot house, we're gonna almost triple it. Up to a 4,000, it's gonna go up to 8,500. And for a 4,000 square foot house, it's gonna go up to over 12,000.
Yeah, it does go up with size, with the size of the home, because it assumes that it's a higher cost to provide that service for that home.
My thought is that if you have somebody building a 4,000 square foot house versus a 2,000 square foot house, we haven't increased the cost from $3,200 to $12,000, especially all in one chunk this quickly in time, doing it all in one piece. I'm for collecting as many impact fees as we can, more on the commercial multifamily side, but I just don't think that's anywhere close to being right as far as taking that number and going, okay, just because I built my house as a developer, going to go, somebody doesn't know this and they buy plans for a 4,100 square foot house or 4,012 foot square house. And all of a sudden they've got a $12,000 impact fee versus their neighbor that bought a 2,000 square foot house or built one on the same lot next door is at 3,200. I think we need to go back to the table on that and relook at those before we approve this.
Okay,
My
thank you.
thoughts.
Council Schachter.
My understanding, and I think that's a great point, Dave, with bringing your expertise to the table. We can approve this ordinance, but not the fee schedule at this point and take that into consideration for the second reading?
Yeah, absolutely. And that would kind of be my suggestion is that I think those are valid points and worthy to dig into. Like I said, we were just trying to get everything on the same schedule so that if you did adopt it on second reading, you'd be looking at the fee schedule at the same time.
You mentioned you were hoping.
Hang on.
I'm sorry.
Hang on. Are you
Yeah,
done?
and
No, it's fine. Just
you can always
Counselor
pull it off the
Townsley,
consent
so, yeah.
agenda and if this is something you guys want to discuss, we'll just put it on the regular agenda.
Yeah, because consent agenda, it's going to go with, okay, here's what we had on there and it's going to go on. So I would ask that if we do move this forward today, that we don't put it on the consent agenda.
Perfect.
Got it.
Thank you. Councilor Schmal.
Before we vote, I'd like to suggest that this really does warrant further consideration of the details before adopting. Maybe we continue it to another meeting.
Okay, thank you. And Councilor Smith.
Earlier, we had some clarification that normally these fee schedules aren't presented at this stage. And Trent actually apologized for putting it in. Quite the contrary, I think for these very reasons, it was very helpful to have that in there. So thank you for including it, even if it wasn't required.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
Yeah, I think, I concur. I think that go ahead and let's not put this on consent to address, the concern that you both have. But my motion was not to approve the ordinance. It was to approve consideration. And so that's where we're at.
No.
Because-
Not to approve the fees.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
the
That's
ordinance.
exactly it. That's where I'm saying like all the details would be fleshed out with the next second reading as we were directed.
Right.
So I moved to approve the enhanced fee structure, which recognizes the situation that we have impacts to development that haven't been addressed over the years, and we're trying to rectify that based on staff recommendation. And then what those fees will be, we would like to discuss at second reading.
Right. Councilor Townsley.
I concur. I think that's a good way to go about it, but I'd also ask staff to maybe retake a look at it over the next couple of weeks before that second reading and maybe address a couple of these things and go, okay, is there a way that we can look at this and maybe tweak these that staff is happy with it? We still get the impact dollars that we're looking to get out of it. And that we also, look at, are there categories, if we build a huge hotel or we get 2 or 3 more huge hotels, we're really getting a big impact from that I think they should be picking up a little bit more of the bill for. So hopefully staff could maybe relook at that and when we come back, have some other recommendations for us.
Yeah, and if I may, so when we do these nexus studies, they usually set what the maximum is that we that whoever conducts the study believes that the relationship between the service and the fee would be. And so what I always advise council is that typically sets your ceiling. It doesn't set your floor. And so really councils oftentimes will set fees lower than what is the maximum recommended by the Nexus study. So what I'd suggest is that, we're looking at maximums or what was suggested. Anything below that is completely defensible from my standpoint.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Schmal.
I agree with impact fees. I think they're important, and I think we should be trying to get the appropriate remuneration for the impacts incurred. And but the fee study that's in here now is part of the study. It's not necessarily what we're going to have those fees be, right?
Again, I think it sets the ceiling for you, not the floor. Because so under Colorado, under Colorado law, as well as U.S. Supreme Court precedent, when we do impact fees, we have to have a rational nexus between the amount of the fee and the service being provided that the fee is paying for. And so that's why when we do these nexus studies, they're designed to set what would be the maximum that you can hold that relationship to. So like, I would not recommend that you take the fee that's in there and say, you know what, we're going to increase it 20% on hotels and drop it 20% on residential. I'm fine with you dropping it 20% on residential. I just can't defend the increase over what the Nexus study says would be appropriate for a particular use category, if that makes sense.
That was part of the issue. So for us now, this is part of the public record, and I still maintain that it probably would be better to continue this until we have more time to consider these fees, because it's going to end up sounding arbitrary whenever we decide not to go with what these fees are. Right? We've got the maximum that, and what the study says, we have the rational nexus. Anything other than that we do is going to be subject to being somewhat arbitrary.
As long as it's below the maximum, it's a decision that has been defended and is defensible. If you go above the max that is set, then yes, that would be something that I would have a difficult time defending that fee being set above that. If you choose for political reasons or otherwise to meet policy objectives, to lower it below what that fee is set at, you're more than able to do that. All the Nexus study requires of us is that we know what the maximum is that we can charge and that there's a relationship to that. It doesn't obligate us to charge that maximum.
But the theoretical is that we waive part for one type of development, and we waive more parts for another type of development, and we go lower on the fees for a certain kind of development, and it ends up being somewhat arbitrary.
I would suggest that what you're really doing there is deciding that, say, for instance, if you lowered the fees for, ADUs or multifamily residential because you wanted to encourage housing of a particular type, that policy goal is perfectly defensible for why you lowered that fee to that place. Would I suggest that you just go, hey, my friends all live in single family residences, we should lower that because they're complaining? That may not be a great policy objective, but I think you can probably find a way to tie your decision making to good policy that you're trying to promote within the city, whatever that happens to be, right? That's what you guys do with almost every decision you make on fees. Oftentimes is you're making policy choices about how to encourage particular things or discourage particular things on a policy basis, right?
Thank you. Counselor Schachter.
Question and comment. If we were to choose hypothetically to level or reduce some of the fees on single family, as we've discussed, is there an obligation to reduce it proportionally? If I heard you correctly, there may not be if it is in pursuit of a policy and below the max. We don't have to do the same thing for commercial or other
No.
categories?
No, exactly. As long as you're pursuing a policy that you believe is important and you have a basis for it, I'm totally good with it.
And the next question would be of Steve, given Counselor Schmall's concern and the ordinance versus the schedule, could we not postpone it, but put it on a workshop before the next meeting to discuss the proposed fees?
Yeah, thank you. So if I hear you right, Counselor Small, you're feeling like these fees are arbitrary and we could maybe never make them perfect, but we can make them less arbitrary, which is what we'd be trying to do over the next week. And I think staff can do that and bring something back to you guys, considering the input that you've had here. It would help me if you would either come in and talk to us or send us your ideas, just so we understand where everybody's coming from, not just the two of you, but everybody.
Council Townsley?
So you brought up a good question from the legal side of it. We're putting caps on it, but not floors. So if we're going to try to take some of that money and not lose the impact fee that we need for our police department, our fire departments, are we, by voting for this tonight, are we going, okay, the fees that we've established for commercial, retail, the other pieces of this, are we capping those out when we vote yes tonight?
No.
You're not capping them out when you vote yes tonight. What you are saying when we look at those fees, when we combine the two pieces, right? Like this is the authorization and then you adopt the fees. Your Nexus study told you what the maximum fees are. So there again, I understand what you're saying is that the methodology, if we're going to go back and change all of the methodology, we would probably need to look at a new Nexus study, I guess, is part of the answer to your question. Because if you are looking to collect a specific total amount, there again, I'm good with you lowering the fees below what the Nexus study says, but pushing them higher is a problem.
So I don't think that's my question.
Okay.
It doesn't feel like it. So my question is, they came up with a number and said, this is the impact. I think it was 24 million or something like that. And we need to divide this number up amongst retail, single family, multifamily. We need to divide it up somewhere. So they divided it up in a particular way that I personally don't think is really right. But do we leave ourselves from freeway? Do we have to go get a whole new study just because we disagree with how he said you should divide this up? Or can staff make a recommendation and we can come back and say, as long as we don't exceed that total number, you know, if it's a pie chart, it's broken down into a lot of pieces. As long as we say, here's the max number, we don't break that up. We just want to change how we break it up. Are we still free to go do that?
I think to a limited extent. I think where we run into problems is when we've dug into, yeah, we have this total number, but then as we divide that up, that's really what the Nexus study is doing, is saying, okay, a hotel generates this much of an impact, right? And so I guess I'd have to go back and look at the study in more detail to fully answer your question. I think it is potentially difficult for us to kind of start tweaking the methodology to come up with different numbers that there again push them up in different use categories beyond what that study said they the demand of that use category is, if you will. Did that make sense?
Let me ask a question to the chief. Chief, if we build a new hotel and it's got 500 rooms in it, and Ryan goes out and builds himself a 4,000 square foot house in Park East,
You got that right.
how are you gonna, where do you think the calls are gonna go?
Yeah, I mean, anecdotally, of course, they're gonna go to the larger property. But what I think is,
Quite a bit, or
I'm sorry?
quite a bit?
Well, there's no way for me to speculate, but I would assume so.
Yeah.
I think what's one of the missing parts is something you said much earlier, not maybe necessarily part to what you're talking about right here, is with respect to, and no disrespect to the planning and zoning commissioner's comments about hotel and serving tourism, what he did not bring up, and I think his number was 63% of our calls are emergency medical service calls, which is probably right about there. I don't know what I have in front of me. What was not considered is the amount of calls for service that we're taking out in the county, to the rural fire district, for example, a 4 Mile ski ranch or someone's home out in that rural district. So that offsets the number of calls that we're taking specifically with tourism. So I would suggest, off the top of my head, that might not be exactly accurate, where we're serving a larger number of visitors as opposed to local residents, visitors to the 4 Mile ranch or up at the adventure park or somewhere like that, because we do cover such a larger area outside the city proper.
Okay, so you're saying you think that we are not covering a lot more. I would assume that we are covering. a lot
We
more.
are, absolutely.
Right.
But to his point that, and I think that it sounds like you adopted his suggestion that we're serving the tourism population, so we should impose some kind of special hotel fee or something like that because of the volume of tourists we have visiting our hotels. Partially true, because what I don't think was being considered was the amount of service we're providing outside the city limits in our total volume of calls, which include the county, all the way out into unincorporated areas like 4 Mile Sunlight Ski area.
Which would make my comments even more poignant, I think.
I don't know that I agree with that.
You good? Okay. Counselor Smith.
Thank you. I think I actually have what is a question, and it's not totally out of order because now we're talking about numbers and potential changing on numbers or rearranging of numbers. If I read the material right, whatever these collections turn out to be, they can be used only for capital, only for equipment, not for operations, not for salaries and such. That's disappointing because we need more funding for that too. But does the allowable list of expenditures include a new fire station in West Glenwood Springs? Good. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? No, then all I'm going to add is that I think of going into too much detail. I think we just have to understand that what we're approving tonight is, or what we're thinking about approving tonight is that whether we want higher fees or additional fees or not. There's a process in place, and I like what you said, not putting it on the consent agenda. I think that makes complete sense. So we have a chance of actually discussing it and let staff go through it. But the question tonight is simply, do we want to add an impact fee based on police services? That's it. And the rest comes later, and I can guarantee you it will come later. So we will have plenty of time to discuss this. So if there's no more discussion, I'll call for the question to approve this ordinance.
It passes 7-0.
Thank you, Ryan.
Between now and the next meeting, I'll certainly look into some of the questions and specifics that you had, see if we can get some clarification on that.
Well, and I think that we had some really valid comments tonight about who should pay more, and I think that's a very good approach of how we should handle this.
Absolutely. And I would really like to hear from you guys, whatever your ideas might be, so that we can understand them and be as ready as we can for 2 weeks from today.
Okay, great. Thank you. Excellent.
And if you ever want to sit around and opine about sign allocations in town, we can do that too. Or some probably want to join us.
No, let's not do that. We will not do that.
With a blowtorch.
A sledgehammer. Item 10 tonight, ordinance 2025-31, emergency medical services call fees.
Okay, thank you. This is setting up for another conversation regarding some fees related to some some transport costs. We annually set fees for transport, we haven't done it in a couple of years, but we need to update fees for transport calls for our emergency services. One of the situations we've run into fairly regularly, and the chief can speak to this, is we have living facilities calling us out and then doing non-transport calls. And we're winding up kind of providing their on-site medical services for them via our ambulance going out, taking care of a problem that they should be staffed for, and then them saying, oh, we don't want to transport, in which case we don't get paid for that trip. So one of the things that change in the ordinance is to define non-transport calls and also living facilities that this would apply to. And then you'll see some fairly hefty fees coming in on what transport and non-transport calls are going to look like. So this is just authorizing us to assess those. And really, this is one of those things that has been an increased, over the last year, it's become one of the, along with the alarm calls that we're going to talk about next, that we talked about in the work session, a huge source of frustration for our crews.
Thank you, Carl. Yeah, do you have anything to add?
I do, sir. Thank you. So to quantify this a little bit, one facility in particular is taking up 6% of our entire response calls for that one location. So we are there, I'd say, easily, without data again in front of me, I'd say without question, once every single day and sometimes 2 and 3 times per day at this one particular facility. Recently, we got a call there because one of the patients they need their nails clipped. We're committing a fire crew from 2 stations of the 3 that we have to respond to that call because it's dispatches a medical emergency. We get there, our professional paramedics assess that, and that is not something that, and then 2 fire stations need to be responding to, in my opinion. And it's costing the city an exorbitant amount of money, and it's tying up those crews, taking them out of service from other potential emergencies, like we talked about with the alarm fees
Yeah.
earlier. So to give you a little bit of perspective on why this is coming forward, the 6%, really the community is really subsidizing that one particular facility by taxes that they're paying for these services.
All right, thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
What could be the unintended consequences of this? Like, we're having an abuse with a certain population. Are you having non-transport calls in other populations?
Generally, we do have those, and those are called against medical advice. Somebody signs a form, we give them the idea, hey, this is what we think is going on, and then they can make that decision. So we're not really focused on those. Those happen all the
Right.
time. But when we have these care facilities, I think is the terminology, 2 of them in particular, where they have a lot of times trained professionals there, and they're being paid a lot of money to host these patients, committing a crew. And then it's, and what I didn't mention, which is also important, is the nail case. So if we had transport, those kinds of, I won't say innocuous, but those kinds of calls, low-level calls, are impacting the emergency services inside the emergency department as well. As you know, they have limited space there. And so the city's medical director, Dr. Sabrina Adams, even opined about the impacts of the emergency department. So
Okay.
generally speaking, coming to your home or downtown, not necessarily a problem. It's these 2 specific places that are taking up that 6 and 7% call volume that I'm talking about.
Yeah, and just so you know, we're defining those using state statute. We're not the only place that has been faced with this problem. Living facilities, that's why we have a new definition that we're adding to the code, what a living facility is. And it's basically an assisted living residence licensed to operate under CRS 2527-105 or a nursing home licensed under 253101. And so we're very specific about it.
That's why I asked for clarification, and maybe I misread it. I saw 2 categories. One was a non-transport call and the other was living facilities. And I wanted to make sure that I understood the distinction, that there wasn't going to be maybe perhaps.
No, and if you look at the section B down below, so we needed a definition for non-transport call because we hadn't had that before. Council by resolution shall set fees for EMS, including but not limited to all transport calls, which we do have a cost that we associate with that. And for living facility non-transport calls on an annual basis. So we're only authorizing setting them for these living facilities right now on non-transport calls.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Small.
Chief, 6%. There's what I've seen of when the calls are made, there's a procedure that everybody has to go through. That the EMS guys got the checklist they have to go through, evaluating the patient, and that gives them the answer as to what they have to do. So the call takes a certain amount of time regardless, right? Just for all of that evaluation stuff. Do you know any idea what that average time is?
I don't, and I don't know that if we would have data that would allow me to provide you any kind of response to that. We just take a look at the general types of calls, and I mean, I could break them down, whether it's cardiac care, a serious trauma, whatever that might, I can break it down that level. But to get into the granular pieces about how long it takes for a patient evaluation, and honestly, there are times when it's basically a grab and go because the person is in they're in imminent death is kind of at their doorstep. We just grab them and go. But I don't think anybody would argue that's a very serious type of call. So we're not going to take the time to go through that checklist. And I'd like to add that when we are in those situations where we're evaluating that patient, we do have communication with the hospital and the physician there to say, hey, this is kind of what we're facing. Do you have anything additional for us to evaluate above and beyond what the paramedic level of the service can provide? Did I answer your question?
Generally, yeah. And I'm thinking about the fees that we ought to be charging regardless of who it is, whether it's a false alarm or a real alarm. So
I think we're troubled just kind of in some of the general language where we're going to these facilities again, that people are paying to be there, and the expectation is they're going to have some level of medical care available to them. And I don't want to say that anybody's being lazy or anything, but to call a fire department for calls like I've done, and certainly they're not all about hangnails or whatever, right? But generally speaking, we get there and, do we really need to commit crews to this kind of thing? And that's where that frustration comes in. And I think, again, the taxpayers of this community are subsidizing those responses. And I have a responsibility to really try to mitigate that through processes like this to really provide fair service across the board to everybody else.
Thank you. Council Schachter.
Thank you. Just clarification, if the ordinance is passed tonight, how and when will the fee schedule be determined?
You'll see the fee schedule on second reading.
Thank you.
The next time.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilor Weimer.
Chief, thanks. I know it's an outlier, but the hangnail thing. So when this person called 911, right? What was the reason do you know what the reason was given?
It's been a little bit, but so the short answer is no.
Okay.
I certainly have that, and I will have it for you.
I'm curious if the person said, I'm dying,
Mhm.
I'm dying, come help me. And we showed up and they're like, I just need a hangnail.
Right.
Right. Is that not a crime, but is that
Like a false reporting.
is that wrong?
Well,
To say that I'm dying over here and then I show up and,
certainly. And I think in this particular case, and what we've seen, I have not seen that happen where someone misrepresents what their need for services
right.
are.
Thank you. Yeah.
Other than our transient population do that sometime because it's cold. So they want to get into the ER. So they'll come in and say, oh, I have chest, or they're trying to avoid going to jail.
Right.
So on their way over there, they say, oh, I'm having a heart attack. And we get, that kind of thing. But in these scenarios we're talking about here, I think what happens is that the patient calls their, I don't want to say nurse, they don't always have a nurse there, but their care provider at this facility.
Okay.
Hey, I need an ambulance. What's the problem? Oh, I have some pain in my hand is typically how that works. Those calls to 911 are facilitated by the management or the people in charge of that patient's care at that facility. The patient does not generally call us directly.
Okay. So theoretically, the hangnail thing would have come from the front desk.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And again, I can get you that specific
No,
call.
I'm just like how these things, you always just wonder about root causes and changes of behaviors and those sorts of things,
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
Yeah, so I think that basically answered my question, but I just wanted to confirm. These calls, I was wondering if the calls originate from staff or are they originating from residents?
My understanding that they generally come from staff because the patient is asking for some kind of service.
Right.
And they don't have the ability to provide it, or they, again, I'm cautious saying lazy. I don't know what another term might be that's better for that, but slothful, I guess, and it's easier just to call 911 and bring a crew over there to deal with that problem.
Got it.
You think slothful is better?
Maybe.
Yeah. I was wondering that too. Yeah.
It's either way, it's good.
I'm working on it.
So to kind of piggyback on the change of behavior, if this is not an ongoing problem, but a relatively new situation.
No, it's been ongoing for quite a long time. It seems to have, so we've had conversations with one of these facilities in particular. They have frequent turnover in their management team, and it seems to correct itself for a little while, but then we're right back to the same problem. And so as this is becoming cyclical and really still committing our crews all the time, every single day to this one person, finally, we reached out to our legal team and said, hey, we need to find a better solution to make this workable for everybody.
So then my other question is, if the fee is assessed, who pays the fee? Does it go to the client, to the resident, or does it go to the facility?
I'll leave that to Mr.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're directing that fee to the facility.
Okay.
How they handle that. I mean, that was a point of, I have to say that we've had a number of conversations recognizing that they could push that fee off on the patient. We can't control that, but our goal is to try to change the facility's behavior so that we're not effectively becoming their nursing staff.
Got it.
There's no guarantee about how they're going to handle that on the back end, but we're
Okay.
trying.
Thank you.
All right, excellent. No more questions. Open it to the public. No one here. We'll close the public portion, bring it back to us. Entertaining a motion in item 10, ordinance 2025-31, emergency medical service call fees. Counselor Schachter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Regarding, which ordinance am I on? Sorry,
2020.
2025, sorry, I just lost my
39.
place. 31, regarding fees, where am I? Apologize, I wasn't as ready. 31 regarding emergency medical service call fees. I move we approve the ordinance.
Thank you. And Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Any discussion? See none, I'll call for the question.
It passes unanimous.
Thank you, Ryan. Item 11, ordinance 2025-32, excessive alarms.
Yeah, hopefully this one can be short. You guys had a work session on this earlier. This is just the authorizing legislation. There again, you'll see we got some input from you guys, what you want to see the fees set at. We'll bring that back on second reading with the fee resolution as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Any questions? See none, open it up to the public. Anybody here from the public on item 11? See none, close the public portion, bring it back to us, entertaining a motion in ordinance 2025-32, excessive alarms. Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
I move to approve ordinance 2025-32 for excessive alarms.
Motion approved. Looking for a second. Counselor Weimer.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion of council? See none, I'll call for the question.
It's unanimous. It passes.
Thank you, Ryan. Item 12, ordinance 2025-29, Centennial Park alcohol prohibition. Rod, good evening.
Mayor and Council. Tonight, we have two ordinances in front of you, both regarding Centennial Park. The first is ordinance 2025-29, and it, should you consider adoption of it, it would prohibit alcohol within the park. We have open container in the other parks of the city. We've had some challenges with safety and potentially nefarious activity. You've had some discussion at a previous workshop about it. The Parks and Recreation Commission has looked at it. They voted unanimously to support a prohibition on alcohol in Centennial Park. And so staff would recommend adoption of ordinance 2025-29 prohibiting alcohol in Centennial Park.
Excellent, thank you. Thanks for the info. Questions to staff. Counselor Schachter.
Thank you, Rod. I must realize, I didn't realize there's so much open container allowed. I'll change my habits. But no, but maybe we can't do it tonight, but I would encourage you to take a look for the same reasons in proximity. Should we consider the same thing for North Landing? And has that been discussed with our commission?
That has not been discussed at this point, but I would tell you that the commission is currently going through a review of Parks and Recreation rules and policies. And so I think that it could be addressed as a part of that process.
I would encourage that both for proximity and potential migration of open container. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Schmall.
Rod, I have, maybe it's, I'm thinking through Carl's eyes, but I have a hard time seeing how we prohibit in one park when we don't prohibit in other parks. I have a real, for instance, why would it not be Bethel Plaza? Why would it not be North Landing? How do we justify that distinction without violating all of the other civil right problems that Carl would be concerned about?
Yeah, on this one, I'm not, because you're adopting specific regulations that relate to a particular problem in a particular park. As far as regulating behavior and it's not a speech issue, it's not a First Amendment issue. The right to, there is no constitutional right to necessarily possess alcohol in any particular place. So from that standpoint, I'm comfortable with doing this. I will tell you the reason that the next ordinance is on is because I needed a more specific definition of what that space was that we were prohibiting it on than what was currently in the code. But that was my only real concern with this one.
Thank you. Counselor Smith.
I think by this point, my original thought is essentially been covered by two other counselors, but I'll just reinforce it that whether we're taking this opportunity to imagine other spaces that need this same treatment, or more specifically, can we anticipate where this drinking society is likely to move next? And if not, we don't have that information for this action, I think we should anticipate a possible need. And so I'm glad that the commission is starting to look at that. And I join my other counselors in saying, look at some additional spaces that this might be useful. Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem Zielinski.
Yeah, so to continue the theme of this conversation, you know, it's a fairly natural conclusion that they're gonna just move up the street to Bethel Plaza, and we can't prohibit alcohol in Bethel Plaza because that's already part of our model there. So has there been any sort of a eye to policy? Like I was wondering, like, no outside alcohol beyond this point, and some sort of is there something like that that we could adopt that would reduce the likelihood that we're just going to relocate our problem rather than solving our problem?
Yeah, we've had some discussion on that, and I think it's a little bit of a wait and see. In fact, some of the discussion was some of these challenges may move further south, like in the Axtell Park area.
Right.
And we really won't know until we begin to, if this is put in place, begin to enforce it and all
We're
of
gonna be
that.
playing whack-a-mole.
Yeah, exactly. It very much could be.
Okay. Well, as long as we all know what we're signing ourselves up for.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Townsley.
I'm just curious, and it may make no difference whatsoever. Do we need to do the designation of park ordinance first before we do this ordinance of?
The Centennial Park is listed currently in the code, which is fine. I'm fine with the order.
You're good with that, okay.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions? We'll see none. Open it for the public. Anybody like to comment on item 12? See none. Close the public portion. Bring it back to council. Entertaining a motion. Councillor Townsley in ordinance 2025 Centennial Park alcohol prohibition.
I move that ordinance 2025-29 Centennial Park alcohol prohibition be approved as is.
Thank you. We have a motion approved. Looking for a second.
Second.
Councillor Zielinski, second. Motion is second to approve. Any discussion? See none. Call for the question.
Yes, Counselor Townsley. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Zielinski. Yes, Mayor Dame. Yes, Counselor Weimer. No, Counselor Schmall. Yes, Counselor Smith. Yes, Counselor Schachter. It passes 6-1.
Thank you, Ryan. Just a quick thought of mine, and I'm not going to say anything that you haven't heard, but I would be in full favor of starting to think about proximity areas around Centennial Park, of how we can get a handle on it before it maybe even starts to occurring. With that, we'll move into item 13, ordinance 2025-35, designation of parks.
Again, this is, as Mr. Hanlon said, this really is a clarification to better define and identify Centennial Park parcel as parkland. And then it could be subject to its own specific rules and regulations as adopted by code. So this is basically a house cleaning item to take care of the action that you just took to prohibit alcohol in a specific park, Centennial Park.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you. Any questions? We'll see none. Open it to the public. Anybody have any input on item 13? Nobody here. Close the public portion. Bring it back to council. Entertaining a motion in 2025-35, designation of parks. Councillor Weimer.
Move to approve ordinance 2025-35 as presented.
Thank you. Motion approved. Second,
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Zielinski, seconded. Also to approve. Any discussion on this one? See none. I'll call for the question.
It passes 7-0.
Thank you, Ryan. Moving on, item 14, ordinance 2025-33, fixing a certifying mill levy for GID, Glenwood Improvement District. Yvette, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Council. Yvette Gustet, Finance Director. What you have before you is just a yearly house cleaning item, setting our mill levies. These numbers are not yet final. We haven't gotten final numbers from the county, but this was based off their preliminary numbers. So the first one, I don't know which one's first one.
GID.
Thank you. So for the GID, this is just setting the mill levy to the maximum that we're allowed. This one was not degalarized, detabered. So that we do have limits on that. So right now that looks at 55,233 would be that income at the mill levy of 1.82.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Just so you guys know, we do this every year. This is nothing new. So anyway, any questions to staff at this point? We'll see none. Thank you, Yvette. Anybody from the public like to comment on item 14? See none, close public portion, bring it back to council. Entertaining a motion in ordinance 2025-33, fixing and certifying mill levy for GID. Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
I move to approve ordinance 2025-33, fixing and certifying mill levy for general improvement district.
Motion to approve, looking for a second, Council Townsley.
Second.
And a second, all to approve. Any discussion on the mill levy? See none, call for the question.
It passes Elway style. 707.
Okay, thank you, Ryan.
It's really.
It took me a second. I'm like, what are you talking about? Item 15, ordinance 2025-34, fixing and certifying mill levy for the city. And Yvette again, please.
Thank you. Again, this one is just for our general mill levy that we have. And again, it's just setting the mill levy for 2026. And at this time, it's set at 8.625 for $3.1 million.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. Any questions? Again, housekeeping item. See no question. Public, any input on 15? No public. Close that portion. Bring it back to us. Entertaining a motion. Item 15, ordinance 2025-34, fixing and certifying mill levy for the city. Council Townsley.
I move that we approve ordinance 25-34, fixing and certifying mill levy for the city as written.
Thank you. Motion approved.
Second.
And a second by Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski. All in approval favors tonight. Any discussion? We'll see none. Call for the question. Got to go through it.
It passes unanimously.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Council, thank you, Yvette. Council comments. Start on the left tonight. Council Townsley. Nothing. Council Schmal.
Nothing.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
Good.
Good. Council Smith.
Well, thank you.
Council Schachter.
Right, so,
Yeah.
two things quickly. Diane Reynolds shared with me a fairly extremely readable book called A Walk Around the Block. I was under the impression she shared it with everybody. Apparently not. I highly recommend it and it's not about slow down in town necessarily, but gives a great simple explanation of the complexity of what cities are dealing with, with also some humor about pigeons, squirrels, where our water comes from, sewer, et cetera. It's a great read for new council people and our public as well. It's called A Walk Around the Block. Simple book. Secondly, you may be mentioning, are you mentioning the evaluation dates or mine? Okay, never mind. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Councilor Weimer.
No, thank you.
Nothing. Back to me. I got a quick little thing. DDA meeting on Tuesday. Discussed lighting the trees with Christmas lights on 7th. Block Cooper to Blake and block Bethel Plaza to Colorado. And also lighting the trees on 6th Street, the new improved, beautiful 6th Street, right? I've driven through it yesterday. There's a few trees that have already been lit, and some of them are lacking. They got a bid for the Cooper Blake block. And I think came out at $6,000 to do 10 trees. Yeah, I know, it's quite a bit. So how the meeting went is first there was a discussion Then there was like, well, why are we lighting the trees? We shouldn't, blah, blah, blah. They denied it. Or it was a tie, so it was a motion failed. Then it was brought back up because with new information, you have the right to do that. And a rediscussion was opened and a longer discussion was had, and then it passed unanimously that they should light the trees. So it was just a little bit of a confusion. I think they didn't know how and what and when. Anyway, they approved up to $15,000 out of their pocket, out of the DDA pocket, to light the trees, and asked the city to split that for another $15,000 out of city pocket. So I'm trying to get a head nod of council to see if you guys are okay with moving forward for this beautification project. For certain, I don't have the exact count of how many trees we're gonna light, but for this year, before we do a lighting schematic plan or whatever you want to call it, to light those trees. So the DDA puts in 50, up to 15, we put in up to 15. I would recommend that we take this money out of the tourism fund. And you can correct me if I'm wrong in thinking that, but I think this is an allowable use of those funds, and I think it'd be a good thing. So I'm in favor of it, and if I can get some sort of a head nod, I think it'd be great if we could move forward with this. Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
So that was my question, was where the money would come from, if it'd be discretionary or tourism.
Yeah, those would be the two choices, discretionary or tourism. But I
We would
think,
decide the most
I
appropriate.
think it fits well within tourism, and that's not our general fund, so.
Got it.
Right.
My head is nodding. I think
Okay,
that's
excellent.
appropriate.
Council Townsley.
You said that they needed 15,000 and we split that with them, and then you said we'd each put 15.
We need 30.
So you need 30.
Up to 30 is what
Up to
we're
30.
approving.
For the
The
2
discussion we
million.
had, we have a feeling, and Rod just left, but it's gonna come in somewhere around 20 to 24.
Yeah.
And then we just split it in half. So. Counselor Smith.
Head shaking sideways.
Okay, he does not want lights. Okay, so at that point I have to go to a vote because I want to know. So any more discussion, or should we just vote on supplying the money?
Did you have a motion in a second?
We didn't. That's what I'm going to next. So
I think we have another question.
we have another question. Counselor Schmal.
I was not at all clear as to how much we were talking about here, whether it was 1,500 or 15,000. So I would encourage whoever makes the motion to be clear on the amount of money that we're talking about.
Good point. I should have said 15. Didn't I say 50? Up to 15,000?
You did.
Oh, okay.
You said a lot of things.
There was a lot. of-
Yeah,
that's what
I
she said.
probably said it too fast, and I was just happy that I remembered everything. So let's put it that way. Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski. No, we're working on it.
I move to approve the expenditure of up to $15,000 out of the fund, the tourism fund, to light the 2 areas of town, one on 6th Street and one on Cooper.
7th.
Oh,
7th. It's
Seventh.
7th. Yeah, the whole. seventh.
sorry, 7th Street.
Okay, great. Motion to approve. Counselor Schachter.
Just a comment by our motion maker. Would it be appropriate to add that this would be subject to an equal match from the DDA?
Yeah.
That's my understanding
Yeah.
is how this all evolved.
I think
Okay,
it would.
then yes, to match the funds with the DDA up to $15,000.
Excellent.
I'll second.
And a second. Motion second to approve the funding.
Then I have a comment.
And Counselor Townsley.
I've got a quick question. I'm not sure if I'm understanding. I understand part of it's for North Landing and 6th Street. And then Grand Avenue is kind of lit already,
Yep,
right?
correct.
Yeah,
So-
that's completely on us.
That's on us.
Yeah.
And so what they're wanting to do is do Cooper from,
It's 7th Street
mhm,
from Cooper to Blake.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
So the train station.
down by the train station.
Yep, and the hotel Maxwell Anderson. And then, since we're doing that side, they decided, well, shouldn't we do Bethel Plaza to Colorado too, or as well, in front of Slope and Hatch?
Okay, and that's, we're looking at $30,000 to do. that?
No, and then the whole of 6th Street,
The whole of 6th Street.
from what is it, Pine to the Come and Go.
you know, I'm in favor of Christmas lights and want to see them out there and whatnot. It seems pretty excessive. That's a lot of money for Christmas lights, not counting Grand Avenue already. That people drive by and see all the time. So is there,
Yeah.
anything that they would look at as a way to maybe, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of money for that. piece.
Well, I just want to point out that Grand Avenue costs us $100,000 for 2 years.
Exactly. So we've put that money in. So
Right, we're just,
Now
and
we're
the
splitting
other
their
thing I
cost.
think that's important maybe to mention is that we, Councilor Weimer put it on the workshop agenda that we will talk about decoration of the city and how do we come up with a general lighting plan and how we come up with who pays for what and when and how. This is just this year, and then we will reevaluate for next year.
So it's not ongoing.
No, this is just for this year. Maybe I should have said that. Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
You just turned me out.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so I wanted to make a comment, based on the charm of our town. I think, you know, when I drive into Glenwood Springs in the fall time, when it's dark, our town has never looked more charming or appealing. There's a couple of things that I think come intrinsically from this that I think will really benefit those two areas. One of them is like, it makes it much more walkable because it's more well lit. I think we will have fewer people kind of lingering in spaces we don't want them to linger because it is more well lit. I think there are several reasons that we can benefit from doing this, not just because of the charm, but I think it actually will accomplish a few things that we want to accomplish, make it more appealing for both residents and visitors.
Thank you. Councilor Weimer.
So, I think I'm really torn on this one. It is a lot of money. We're buying roses on Valentine's Day is what we're doing, right? And so this came in literally Thursday? No, Tuesday.
Yeah.
With this opportunity and, you know, getting lights strung on trees right now, you're paying a 3x or whatever premium than you would be, you know, any other time of year. So yes, it is expensive. The tourism fund is ripe. And for this use, it's also pretty flush at the moment. And fits that really, really well. But we've got to get our act together as a downtown, I'll say, right?
Yeah.
What gets lighted, what doesn't, who pays for it? We have trees that are private trees. We have trees that are city trees on private land. We have trees that are in the right of way. We have all sorts of things. And we've got to come up with a comprehensive plan starting in January 1st, essentially. And I think it'll be cheaper in the longer run because we're going to have our act together. We're going to be thoughtful and careful and just thoughtful how we spend this money. But for 2025, I will vote to support this.
Thank you. And just another little tidbit, we're going to be owning the lights. The lights are going to be in our possession after this is done. So they're higher quality lights. So hopefully, Councilor Smith.
Can you make it better?
Councilor Smith.
Ditto to all of the middle portion of what Councilor Weimer said so eloquently. Not ditto to the I will support this, and not ditto to we got the money so it's available, but all those other cautions and considerations and reasons to be more thoughtful and prepared than winging it like this. So thank you for saying that more eloquently than I could have, and that's it.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
The Grand Avenue lights that we have, like once they're installed, they stay installed year round. So then we're just doing repairs and maintenance on that basically. So this would be a similar situation where this is kind of an investment. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep. Councilor Small.
Are our permanent lights going to be in soon? I didn't hear any report on that. I was told they would be here in time for the hotel lighting, but I drove through there last night and they're not there yet.
My understanding is that they will be installed before the hotel lighting, but probably not very much before that. I think that's the plan right now.
Installed and working.
Well, that's yeah. Councilor Townsley.
Just a quick question off what you said. Are we paying $100,000 for maintenance of our lights that we have out there?
No,
That's what it cost to install them the first time?
first
long
time
ago?
you buy them and install them, and it's super expensive the first time.
And the DDA, sorry,
Councilor Zelinski.
did DDA contribute half the first time, or was it all city?
On Grand Avenue, I think that was all city.
It was all city?
All city, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
I thought it was,
I thought they mentioned Tuesday that the first time it was done, they purchased the lights.
and that's,
I thought, but that was years ago. I just thought I heard that.
No, my understanding is that they did purchase some lights downtown. That didn't work out very well.
got it.
We replaced those lights, and I think the city did it at that time.
Got it. You know what? You are reminding me. I think that is correct.
Okay, excellent. I'll call for the question. Give me some lights, guys. Let's come hang with me. Go make Glenwood. Go make some more Glenwood. Everybody votes?
I read button 3 times, so I can't.
Are we good?
now.
Okay. All right.
No, Counselor Smith, no, Counselor Schmal, yes, Counselor Townsley, yes, Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski, yes, Mayor Dame, yes, Counselor Weimer, yes, Counselor Schachter. It passes 5-2.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for that. Took a little longer than I thought, but it's done. But now what?
Sorry.
Would you have a comment maybe?
I have a comment.
Okay, Mayor Pro. Let's keep please.
I'm sorry. It's been a long night. Aaron Riccio emailed me earlier today about the Thompson Divide. And now that the government's moving back, they want an updated quote that they can include in their book as they go. Can I just say that we're so comfortable and then she proposed a quote that if I can find it, here it is. Glenwood Springs has consistently and unequivocally supported permanent protections for the Thompson Divide, most recently through another resolution reaffirming our strong commitment to protecting this landscape. The Thompson Divide is central to our community's outdoor heritage, economic vitality, and way of life. We welcome the Senate hearing on the Core Act as a critical step towards securing the divide's future. Are we comfortable with that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we need to nod our heads? No, we just move forward. Okay, great. We're not going home. There's more. Oh, I see. City Attorney, Carl Hanlon.
I thought it was Steve.
Well, I didn't put this together now, did I?
Yeah, it's
Usually Steve.
One of you. I just called on you. Just go.
Okay. I'll go.
Well, that would be city manager now, Steve Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is annual review time coming up, and you have 3 employees: city attorney, city manager, municipal court judge. Counselor Schachter put together some reviews for each of those positions. So if it's okay, I'm going to hand these to you guys, and if you would each take one of each little stack here. And I think that Counselor Schachter wanted to get these back by the 1st of December.
December 2nd, I'll pick them up the 3rd from your office. And they are not digital. I'm too old to do that.
Okay, fair. Anything else?
Just a couple of other quick things. We are doing, I guess, what they call a burn pile. We have grant money for fire mitigation, and we're going to do this kind of by Linwood Cemetery. And it's going to be a fairly big burn. We're going to see a lot of smoke, right? Nothing to worry about. We're on top of it. We'll do everything we can to get out in front of it in the public, but just so you're aware, that's the first week in December. That's coming up.
What are we burning?
Shrubs.
Oh,
fuel.
Plant material.
We each have 3 of those.
Are we?
I don't know. I mean, probably subject to weather, but I think even if it's cold or there's some precipitation, they can still do it.
Rainy day, no bad.
Yeah, probably not.
Do we have any responsibility to,
Wait, 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 wait.
we're done?
Well, if you talk, we need the mic.
Do we have any obligation to notify people about like air quality if there's a lot of smoke?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, yes, I think we do. And that,
a lot.
that is part of the message.
Okay, gotcha.
And we're going to start that messaging pretty soon.
Okay,
We really
perfect.
want to push that out.
Perfect, thank you.
The only other thing I had is, you guys may have seen this. We have had these things called First Amendment auditors showing up. We got a break for a couple of years, it seems like. They dress in all black, they have masks on. They, take their cameras around and they video things. And we had somebody out here the other day and they were videoing the inside of every car in the parking lot. It's disconcerting, but it's not illegal. They are hardest on our police department because they would love to see a police officer acted appropriately. So if you see those people, and we've coached our staff on this, also, just ignore them the best you can. Don't engage. Don't tell them to stop recording. Sounds like that might work to me. Yeah. They won't touch you, they won't hurt you, but they can be a little bit scary. So just a heads up on that. I think that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. City attorney.
Thanks. I appreciate it. It's not 7:30 and it's not 8 o'clock. It's 8:05. I'm good.
Okay, I missed all that. What did you say?
Well, I said it's not 7:30. It's not 8 o'clock. It's 8:05. So I'm golden for this evening.
I tried really hard. That was it? Oh,
That's what that whole thing back and forth.
I know.
Yeah, no,
I
it's,
know.
the only other thing I would tell you is that we are gonna do, an early executive session at the next meeting at 3 o'clock. So that'll come out as a special meeting because we have to call a meeting to have an executive
Yep.
session. So just keep that in mind when you see the regular agenda probably start at 4. But there's actually something starting at 3 and it's gonna be about an hour long, executive session. We have some things to go over, related to permitting and some other stuff with Southbridge that I need to talk you guys through.
Councilors,
I'm sorry.
go for it.
Well, that'll be a hard one. We also have, I think, coming up an update from Habitat on the Confluence Project and Glenwood Gardens coming back. So there may be a couple of hard ones in 2 weeks.
Okay, fair.
Holidays.
That's right. You could also do it on the 18th. It's fine. Counselor Smith, any questions or?
Just thank you for the early executive session rather than late at night. Appreciate it.
Okay, excellent. Any correspondence?
No, but happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I hope you have some great time with family and eat some turkey.
Thank you, Ryan. Likewise, same to you. Social event, Mayor Pro Tem Solinsky.
Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. I would like to announce we are going to go to Tapatio for a
Downtown.
little
Sounds great.
post-meeting refreshment.
Thank you. Entertaining a motion to adjourn.
Centennial Park.
Yeah.
Councilor Townsley.
I move we adjourn.
We have motion to adjourn. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Those opposed?